uncut, unscripted, on the fly. Recently, ladies and gentlemen, I did my overall view or overall look at My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Basically talking about the impact it's had on fans like me and how the fans have had impacts on them, on the franchise itself. So, after this video premiered, one of the people that follows my channel, or at least watches these videos, takes their time and watches them, asked me to do a similar video on something that is closely connected within My Little Pony. And that is Sparity. Of course, Sparity is short for Spike and Rarity. And I know a lot of you are probably saying you spoke about Sparity a lot. But what this individual wanted me to do was a video similar to what I did for the series, but on Sparity, on Spike and Rarity, the history, the overall history, of this relationship, this friendship, this romance, if you will, between these two characters. And I figured, you know what, I'll probably have time during lunch, and, maybe I'll do perhaps an audio overview best I can on it. So, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go with basically an overall look at the Sparity ship, if you will, in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And why it is, what it is, popular, controversial, you name it. I guess the only way to start on something like this is to go to the beginning. And that would be episode 1, part 1, Friendship is Magic. That's basically what the episode was titled. And it's during the time after Twilight and Spike arrive in Ponyville, where they're meeting up with all the potential new friends that would become part of the main 6, main 7, main 8, however you want to look at it. And as soon as they got to Rarity, that's when this whole Sparity thing started to blossom, bloom like a rose, if you will. Because you would think, out of all the other characters Spike and Twilight's encountered, that Spike could have gone gaga, heads over heels, if you will, for any one of them. It takes a character like Rarity to be the one that he falls for. And again, it's like a rose starting to blossom, starting to bloom, because that's what's happening. Love and romance is blooming for Spike. He has fallen heads over heels for this newest member, potential new friend in this group that Twilight's going to be part of, basically in what is known as love at first sight. And what's funny about this is, for the first season, for the first season, as far as I can tell, from what I know, none of the fans watching, none of the viewers, the fans, knew whether or not if Rarity knew Spike had a thing for her. I mean, perhaps she did, perhaps she didn't. All she knew basically was Spike was a good friend of hers. And he always wanted to, take care of her. He always wanted to watch out for her and help her out, just like he would anybody else, or any pony else. So, basically, how do I put this? So yeah, again, nobody really knew if Rarity was aware that he had a thing for her. I mean, he made it clear to the rest of the main 6 at the time that he had a thing for Rarity. And even though they thought it was cute and adorable, I don't think they realized how serious he meant it to be, because there are many instances, and you can look at various Spike and Rarity moments. In fact, there's 2 separate videos that are dubbed Spike and Rarity moments. And in the first video, you could see certain moments where Spike wants to prove or wants to show that he's serious about his feelings for Rarity, even to the point that I guess when Rarity's wearing a black cloak over her head in shame or something, Spike's shoving all the other members of the main 6 out except for himself. Oh, because as soon as he shoves them out, shuts the door, he tries to skip back over to Rarity, and Twilight has to basically say, oh, nope, you're coming too, and drag him out, or pull him out, of the room. So, again, even though they found it adorable and cute and everything, I don't think they realized how serious it was. And again, for that first season, the viewers pretty much probably thought, I should say, that Rarity didn't know. Rarity didn't know why Spike always wanted to be around her and help her out and always glad to see that she was safe and stuff like that. However, that would all change. That would all change in season 2. Because there's a couple of episodes that kind of really touch upon this. More specifically, there's one episode called Secret of My Excess. And obviously, right off the bat, I don't think anybody's acknowledged this, Rarity pretty much knows Spike has a thing for her. She does. I mean, she wouldn't flirtatiously sweet talk him about the fire ruby he has. And before anybody says anything, Rarity was not manipulating him. She was just, in her own Rarity way, talking about how fabulous and wonderful and gorgeous this fire ruby was, or as she puts it, how magnificent it was. But the way people would interpret the way she was talking to Spike about it, it's like pretty much you could tell she knew. It's like she already knew. Even before the ending of the episode, when they're falling through the sky, Spike's getting ready to confess his feelings for Rarity, basically say, look, I've had this thing for you and all that. And Rarity has to stop him with her hoof, has to hush him with her hoof, and with tears and with a smile and tears in her eyes, and like I said, with a smile and tears in her eyes, she literally acknowledges to Spike she already knows. That she's already known, she's always known. Like I said, she basically hushes Spike with her hoof by acknowledging that she knows and that she's always known. And it just goes from being a rose blossoming and blooming to fully blossoming and blooming and just being admired and adored by everyone that sees it. Because it's within that moment of Secret of My Excess, and even later on with Dragon Quest, depending on how you look at that, that the Sparity ship really started to come into its own. It really started to become a big deal. And like myself, it was one of the reasons, in my opinion, that a lot of fans were drawn to the series, because of this unique romance, this unique shipping of characters in this way. Now, before anybody says anything, yes, this relationship, even as it became fully bloomed and adored by the fans, and was one of the main reasons a lot of fans got into the series because of the uniqueness of it, it's a relationship that also came with controversy. You see, the controversy that surrounded Spike and Rarity throughout the series, even more so and more prominently after season 2, was all due to the fact that, like I said, was all due to the fact that several fans out there felt that it just didn't feel right. Like something didn't feel right about this relationship. Some felt that it was a relationship that, praised pedophilia and stuff like that. And that could be further from the truth. But they have a right to their opinion. Even those today feel the same way. The other reason some fans were against it, and the reason it was very controversial, and the reason its existence, I should say, was very controversial, was because of the way some fans viewed Rarity's treatment of Spike. Like, yes, Rarity knew Spike had a crush on her, he had feelings for her, and instead of returning those feelings and that crush, instead she decided to use it to her advantage and manipulate Spike into doing what she wanted. Now here's the thing though. In later seasons, Spike, depending on who was writing his character or writing the episode, focused on him, maybe focused both on him and Rarity, on the rest of the main cast or the whole cast as a whole. I know that was kind of a lot of words to say. But Spike has been written as not being, oblivious. Like he would obviously know something was up. So Spike would have known right away if Rarity was manipulating him or not. And he would have called her out. Let's be honest. In later seasons, he probably would have done that. But here's the thing. The reason Spike never said anything or never acknowledged maybe what Rarity was doing was wrong, to him, was because he cared about it too much. And basically, as I've said before, and I'll say again, he looked at every opportunity, that he had to be with Rarity as an opportunity to be closer to her and to get to know her better than he has before. And the same could be said for Rarity to getting to know Spike better than she has before. And yes, I agree. Now look, I agree. Several fans may have a point when it comes to viewing it from that perspective. But again, like I said, in some of the earlier seasons, some of the episodes of the earlier seasons, and even the later seasons, Spike has been written at times to be, competent. He's been written to be, not so oblivious to a situation. So if they wanted to, they could have had Spike finally step up and say, Rarity, I think you're just using the feelings I have for you to make me do things for you without really returning those feelings back towards me. So, they could, so here's the thing, they could have gone down that route, but they never did. Because I think they realized that, because I think, honestly, they realized fans were going to interpretate this relationship any which way they wanted. And any which way they wanted meant looking at it as being something that's, a goal for someone like Spike to achieve, finally win the heart of the girl of his dreams and be with her for the rest of his life. And they knew some would view it maybe as something that felt wrong, like maybe, felt wrong in the fact that, the character Spike cared, the pony Spike cared for in a loving way, didn't really feel the same way about him as he did her. And all she was doing was just using that to her advantage to get what she wanted. So yeah, there's no doubt this has come with controversy. But even though there is controversy to it, the positive outweighs that controversy. Because there's too many moments within the series to even acknowledge that as a possibility. And that's the truth. That is the absolute truth. I mean, think about this. And I've mentioned this before. When Spike announced he had the Crystal Heart in the Crystal Empire Season 3 premiere, who was the first one to acknowledge him saying something? Rarity. Who was the first one concerned for his safety, his well-being, as he fell off that ledge created by Sombra trying to get to the heart, trying to get to the Crystal Empire castle. Rarity was the one that was concerned. Rarity was the one that was afraid. So there have been moments of genuine concern and care from Rarity towards Spike and vice versa. I mean, you want a good example of how much Spike truly cares about Rarity. I believe in season 4, in the episode Simple Ways, I think it was season 4, Spike is willing to put his affection for Rarity, his love for Rarity, to the side to help her try to win the heart of the male pony or stallion, Tenderhoof. He's willing to do that. He's willing to do that. And Rarity has to assure him that no matter what happens, they're always going to be an item, or at least they're always going to be, very close friends, closer than some friends should be, or something like that. Anyway, he's willing to put his affection for her aside to make her dream of winning this guy's heart a reality. And then on top of that, let's take a look at Power Ponies. I know some people may not like that episode, but here's the thing. Rarity, out of all the costume designs the characters got, think about this. Out of all the costume designs the characters got, Rarity as Radiance got the most elaborate costume out of them all. More elaborate than Applejack's Mistress Mayhorn was disguised. More elaborate than Twilight's Power Pony outfit. More elaborate than Pinky's. More elaborate than, Rainbow's, and even more elaborate than, Fluttershy's, or even his. Rarity got the most elaborate one. The one that matches her personality and her style. And guess what? She liked it. She liked it because it's something she even would probably come up with outside of being sucked into a damn comic. Anyway, the case in point is picturing Rarity as Radiance, ladies and gentlemen, or being in that role. That's all Spike's doing, because when they got sucked into that comic, a lot of them getting those costumes was all because of Spike viewing them in those areas. Like, he looked at his friends outside of the comic and mentally thought of them as each of basically what hero they could represent from the comic, or what hero from the comic best represents them, and vice versa. So that was all Spike's doing. So apparently he saw the Radiance character, representing, kind of being like Rarity in many ways, and vice versa. And that's why she got the costume she did and the powers that she did. Now, as time went on, I'm not going to deny that the Sparity relationship did kind of cool down a bit. I mean, again, as I've said many times before, you had your moments. There's no denying that. Castle Sweet Castle is a good example. Spike being so loyal to Twilight that it takes Rarity to sweet talk him into going and distracting Twilight while they fix up the castle. Now, some may not like that, but you know what? If Spike was over his crush on Rarity, which I'm assuming many fans assumed occurred over that time between seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, and even 7. If many people felt that, was the case, then obviously it wasn't, because of the fact that Spike, willingly did exactly what Rarity asked him to, sweetly talked him into doing. Because again, if he had gotten over it, as some fans pointed out, he would have basically been able to fight that off and been like, nope, I'm not doing this, guys. No matter how much you sweet talk me, Rarity, it's not working. I'm going to stand by Twilight's side. But guess what? It didn't happen. But again, even through that period of time, you had your moments. It wouldn't be until about season 8, and in between that, even with the movie itself, yes, the movie itself, where you would get more Sparity. I mean, heck, there are moments in the movie that acknowledge the Sparity relationship. Like when Spike and Twilight go and meet up with the rest of the main group, and everybody else and all the other members of the main 6 or main 7 are saying hi to Twilight. Rarity's the only one that says hello to Spike, and Spike's like acknowledging it by saying, hi, Rarity, and all of a sudden you hear this boing, which many people have made a joke of, but you see him blushing a little bit, and then later on, you see him get jealous a little bit when it looks like Capper is flirting with Rarity and Rarity's falling for it. He gets a little jealous, that being Spike, and then when they're trying to hide from the Storm King's guards and Tempest, Spike's right next to Rarity trying to comfort her. So there were moments even in the movie that acknowledged the Spike and Rarity Sparity relationship. And it wouldn't be until about season 8 when Nicole Dubuque took over as executive producer and Megan McCarthy was serving as co-executive producer along with Stephen Davis that the Sparity ship would be refocused on. It would get, a spotlight put back on it. And the way it had a spotlight put back on it, believe it or not, was, with the Breakup Breakdown episode focusing on Big Mac and Sugar Bell. And the fact that Discord, who played a part in the episode, didn't really know and understand what this whole Hearts and Hooves romance deal was, even though Spike called him out for always wanting to spend time with Fluttershy. One of the ways Spike is able to kind of give him an example of what Hearts and Hooves Day is about, and romance is about, and love is about, is by reading a poem he put on a heart-shaped Hearts and Hooves heart, or Valentine's Day heart, let's put it that way. And he basically acknowledges it's like what one dragon once said to his beloved pony, or to his beloved. And he starts reading off the poem he wrote for Rarity. And yes, some fans like Map, Miss Anthropony, weren't too thrilled with the idea that, wait a minute, you're bringing this up again? What the heck? Well, if you didn't like it then, you're one of those fans that found it controversial still at that time. You heck if it didn't like it, you really didn't like it when Meltdown came about. Meltdown came about, and it was basically, despite how some fans may look at it, it was basically a Sparity episode. That's what it was. Because it focused somewhat on both Spike and Rarity going through some changes. Some relatable to the viewers, in a sense, when it comes to Spike. And, changes that are temporary because of certain situations, that are beyond your control. Those situations on both ends being Spike going through the molt, the equivalent of getting older and going through the physical puberties and changes, alterations of the body, like any human does, and temporarily losing your hearing when it comes to some kind of allergic reaction or something that you shouldn't be around, like in this case, phoenix feathers. And that, of course, being Rarity, who temporarily lost her hearing in this episode. And the fact that it ended with both of them at Rarity's boutique with Spike, even though Rarity was more interested in trying to create the dress Spike was kind of modeling for her wearing, so she could put the finishing touches on. Spike wasn't mad or anything, because she wasn't paying attention to him, wondering how much different the wings he now has is going to make and all that. But he was there because he was there with Rarity. He was happy to basically him sighing and smiling at the end is his way of saying, that's just Rarity for you. That's why I love her. That's why I have these feelings for her. And then when you take a look at the season 8 finale, you go a little further into that. You take a look at the season 8 finale, and it's the fact that it's Rarity that basically has to save Spike from basically choking to death because his magic's failing, because Celestia is trying to send a letter to Twilight to inform her of what's going on, and to have her and her friends meet up at Canterlot Castle to further talk about it. It's Rarity that is the one that comes to his aid. And there are moments in the episode when they arrive into Tartarus and all that where they are next to each other. So, you could take it as you will when it comes to that, but like I was saying, it was Rarity out of the entire group that basically saved Spike from choking to death, because, like I said, his magic was failing. And then, like I said, you had moments in the finale when they got to Tartarus where they were next to each other. So, take it as you will, but they could have had any of the other characters help save Spike, like Starlight or Rainbow Dash or even Fluttershy, but it was Rarity. So, like I said, take that as you will. And then you get to Best Gift Ever, and to a lot of fans, depending now how you view Best Gift Ever, if you will, because when it was made, it was sort of a bridging gap between seasons 8 and 9. But when you really look at it from a sense, it could be viewed at any time. Heck, I even said it recently that you could view Best Gift Ever as taking place between the ending of the final battle and their, calm down, the cool down, the relaxation at the donut shop. You could take Best Gift Ever and set it in between that time frame of the final battle that they had in the ending of the end, and Twilight's coronation as shown in the flashbacks of Last Problem. You put it in that time frame and it makes sense, because Twilight's not ruler just yet. She's getting close, but she's not there yet. She's not moved into the Canterlot Castle yet. So by having her still live at her castle, and give time for the castle itself at Canterlot to be rebuilt and everything, and let the sisters still live there and enjoy the final days, even the final heartwarming, it makes sense. It makes sense perhaps from a continuity standpoint, and if you place Best Gift Ever within those two moments or those two events, it makes sense. Hence, and it makes sense from a story perspective, because you actually take a special, which if you break it in two, is a two-part holidays story, and you're basically using it to, pretty much cement a few things, kind of answer a few questions. And one of them, of course, is Spike and Rarity. But so getting back to it, you have Best Gift Ever that premiered after season 8 and now can be placed at any time between, any time, between the final seasons. Either you want to still place it in between seasons 8 and 9, or between the ending of the final battle and the ending of the end and Twilight's coronation, which I think a lot of people like myself would probably do. Basically, Best Gift Ever was essentially, to me, the culmination of the whole Spike and Rarity relationship, because one of the character subplots was Spike trying to find a gift for Rarity. And yes, some may not agree of how he got Rarity, because originally when they did the Santa's Helper drawing of symbols or names out of Applejack's hat, Spike originally got Rainbow Dash. So, you may not have agreed with how he fast talked, smooth talked, Fluttershy into a trade, but it worked out in the end because Spike, even though he was happy to finally get Rarity and have a chance to get her a gift, didn't know what to get her, and he went on a journey to get her something, to get her that perfect gift. And he realized that, look, materialistically, it's not going to last. It's not going to feel as special, but if it's creative and it's from the heart, it's going to mean even more. And he originally, as I pointed out before, had plans to give her what's known as a parasail to kind of wear, use at times when she's walking around. Like, let's say she's in a gondola with him or maybe one of her friends. She could use it then. But what ended up happening is he ended up kind of altering his gift plans for her, and he created a little guitar that when he played it sounded like a real good guitar. Like whoever did the guitar soloing for Spike in that moment really did a great job. And basically Spike, what he did was he gave Rarity a song from the heart. He gave it a song from the heart, and basically his portion of the True Gift of Giving song was done in a romantic, serenade, loving way. Basically, it was his way of expressing his love for Rarity. And there are moments during that song that some people need to really take into account. Like one, Rarity having the stars, sparks in her eyes. That's usually associated, especially if you watch Walt Disney's Lady and the Tramp animated classic, and I don't know if they'll repeat that sequence in the live-action adaptation, but basically, Lady doing the spaghetti scene, has stars in her eyes, towards the end of that moment. So, and that dealt with romance. That dealt with her finally realizing she's in love with Tramp. And that's basically what you got somewhat with Rarity. That's what you got here. So, again, depending on how you view from a continuity standpoint where Best Gift Ever could land, overall, one could agree that it's a good conclusion to the Spike and Rarity situation. Or at least partial conclusion, because even as we got into season 9, we had Rarity and Spike moments. Like in Between Dark and Dawn, the first 30 seconds, as I've mentioned before, Rarity is the only one out of the group to run towards Spike as he's being basically lifted into the air, caught up along with a tree, and almost eaten by this giant tortoise. So you have moments like that. And then, of course, you have Dragon Dropped, which, depending on how you interpretate it, I think Thespio said it best. I think everybody else has said it best. It was basically a interpretation or metaphor of a love triangle. And that the way Rarity was reacting to Spike hanging out with Gabby was that of a girlfriend finding out that her boyfriend may be possibly cheating on her. But that wasn't the case. I mean, the fact that they could have easily, as I've mentioned before, ended it with Gabby and Spike flying off and then Rarity walking off on her own, smiling, knowing that she helped reconcile and make things better. They could have ended the episode like that, but they didn't. Instead, they ended it with Spike going back to Rarity and saying that he'll always want his Rarity time. And that's a great way, and that's a great moment there. And the fact that even in the finale you had them working together, you had them working together in the summer sunset back, it definitely shows you that the Spike Rarity dynamic in relationship and romance, whatever you want to call it, has had a huge impact. And that knowing these were the last few seasons, the writers, mostly Nicole Dubuque, wanted to focus back on that relationship. They wanted to put more focus back on it because they knew if the show was ending, they'd want that to still be something that fans could, latch on to and interpret in their own way. So when it comes to Spike and Rarity's relationship, depending on how you view it, it's probably one of the most impactful, most memorable character arcs, romances, love stories, love angles that you are probably going to get in a series like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And even though we didn't get anything definitive, that depends on how you look at Best Gift Ever and where you place it. It's still something that, with the season 10 comics coming, is open to interpretation and possible conclusion when it comes to those stories that will come in those issues by IDW. So anyway, guys, just thought I'd come out and give my thoughts on that, and let me know what you all think about the Spike and Rarity relationship and how you feel about the impact it's made on the series. I got to get back into work, guys, and I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care. I am out.